And welcome to Bronze and Modern Gods. I'm John, and that's Richard. I get to point again.
Yay!
How is it going?
Good. How are you doing, John?
I'm doing okay. Lots again this week. Hot book of the week. We've got our underrated books of the week where we delve into the Bronze Age a bit. Our 25-year rule returns, and our main topic this week: underrated Bronze Age first appearances. What are people missing? What do we want to call out? What's out there still that you can grab before it becomes a $50,000 like everything else right now? Yeah, we'll find out. But stick around. But first, our hot book of the week. It is one that, I was a little older along with you. I missed this in my childhood, but I understand the appeal. It is G.I. Joe number 21.
Yeah. What a great book. What a great book. I am, though, just shocked by the acceleration of interest in this book and the acceleration of value.
First of all, it's the famous silent issue featuring Snake Eyes, probably the most popular G.I. Joe character outside of Scarlet. It's also, that's a joke, it's also the first appearance of Storm Shadow, a very popular adversary for the Joes. The 90-day GPA for a 9.8 on this book from the 80s is $3,550. Richard,
that is unbelievable. The value of this book. I remember this book just a couple of years ago. It was not cheap. It was around $400, but nowadays $3,500 is an unbelievable amount.
Do you know that's more than a number one in 9.8? A number one is around $2,300 in 9.8 right now.
Mm-hmm. It's the Wolverine syndrome, I think.
It's that dark cover. It shows every imperfection, that dark gray tone cover. Now, also, newsstand versions of this book are fetching huge premiums. A 9.6, not a 9.8, a 9.6 newsstand of this book sold on eBay last month for $3,500, and that was a 9.6. Crazy.
No.
The main driver here is that upcoming Snake Eyes movie that's coming out in July, and people are just pumped. And you've got a whole generation behind us that grew up with the Joes. Yo, Joe, the more you know, and now you know whatever that catchphrase is. Meanwhile, speaking of G.I. Joe, I want to tip everyone off to take a look at the issues between issue number 30 and issue 60, because there are a lot of key first appearances here that people probably aren't noticing, and they're probably still in some bins or on some walls for a cheap amount. These are going for $300 or $400 a piece.
Yeah, I'm surprised because the run itself is very popular. It was popular back then.
Yeah.
So a lot of people pick these books up.
Yeah, but it's a kid's book, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and that means people didn't take care of it necessarily in the same manner people took care of some of the more adult books. But still, some of the run itself was very popular. I've come across, and sadly did not purchase, several runs of G.I. Joe. So I know they're out there. They're still sitting out there in long boxes. I know there's garage sales. I'm sure you can come across and you can find a whole run of these.
Yeah, you're right. You might not get the 9.8s you want, but you can at least get some under copies until you get those. So be on the lookout for those other G.I. Joes. Mm-hmm. Moving on from, I think, Copper Age, right? We'll call G.I. Joe Copper Age, right? Moving on to the Bronze Age for our main topic this week, and that is underrated Bronze Age first appearances. And by the way, I want to give a shout out to Raphael, the husband, for my really cool Bronze and Modern Gods cap.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
We might be selling these very soon, along with some shirts. I know you guys are asking in the comments, and I keep saying coming soon. They're coming soon. I swear. I got to get around to it. Let's get right into it. I have a bunch of suggestions for people to pick up on these books that I think have sort of flown under the radar. You may have heard something about them from some apps and some other influencers, but I still think there is value here. And the first one is Marvel Presents #1, featuring Bloodstone, the first appearance of Bloodstone, of infamous quarter bin book for decades that is now sort of catching on. These stories were originally meant for the reprint title Where Monsters Dwell. Marvel in the mid 70s had a bunch of monster reprint titles where they reprinted some of the old Lee and Kirby monster stories from the 60s. And near the end of those runs, they had decided they were going to start putting a new feature in the front of all of them. And it didn't really happen. They all kind of got canceled before it happened. But these stories were in inventory. So they collected two of them and put them in this book. And Bloodstone was going to be a monster hunter. You know, that was going to be the tie-in. And that's why this first issue has two chapters that are drawn by two entirely different artists, because they were going to be two separate 10-page stories. Now, Bloodstone's legacy has been passed down to Elsa Bloodstone, which, as you guys probably know, that first issue of Bloodstone from 2001 is very heavily spec'd upon and a tough book to find and grade. A 90-day GPA for this is $605 for a 9.8. You know, that's up 50% from last year. Talk
And like
about
you said, this is a quarter 50-cent bin book. You know, I picked up one of these, you know, just because it was a #1, and I was rifling through a long box.
There you go. I had stacks of this, and the rest of the run, which with issue 3, it's featured Guardians of the Galaxy for the rest of the run. But I love this little run of Marvel Presents. So that's my first one. What's yours?
My first pick is a book that I've mentioned previously. It is Epic #3, the first appearance of Vanth Dreadstar. Dreadstar is a character made by Jim Starlin. Jim Starlin is famous in the comic book community for creating Thanos, the Infinity Gauntlet, Drax, the Destroyer, Gamora, and Shang-Chi. So he's got serious chops when it comes to creating new characters. So this is a character that he created for the Epic imprint, which was a imprint provided by Marvel back in the early 80s. And the book features Dreadstar. He is the sole survivor of the Milky Way galaxy, and he goes through a variety of adventures in a war between two different massive galactic empires. And it's a great read. If you ever read it, it reminds me very much of the Star Wars universe, and the characters that surround him also remind me of it. The book itself is epic, is a magazine format. The Epic Illustrated is magazine format, so it's a bigger book. It's a thick book too, to be honest with you. It's always hovered, and as Dreadstar has, on the edge of popularity. He, I have Jim Starlin actually released a Kickstarter back last year where he was putting out a 100-page story to continue the legacy of Dreadstar. And that's just about ready to be released. That's going to follow up the series that originally ran with Epic, and then after Epic, it switched over to First Publishing. And this had a great run. So, you know, what kind of spec power is behind this? I'm not really sure. I'm looking at a great character, and you know, if there's bandwidth in the MCU production line, you know, this is one of those characters I could see really hitting it off. GPA is for a 9.8 is $399, which is
Wow, that's more than I thought it was going to be.
yeah. Raws, you can pick up Raws for around $50 or 50 to $100. You know, it's not necessarily a tough book. Like I said, it is a thick book. It is a white cover book. So there's some difficulty getting this high in grade because of those factors. But again, I think it has some potential given Jim Starlin's writing chops that, you know, this character could be something in the future.
Nice foreshadowing on Epic Illustrated. We'll hear more about Epic Illustrated later this episode in our underrated books of the week. But my second book for this segment is Marvel Chillers #1, which came out around the same time as Marvel Presents #1. This is the first appearance of Modred the Mystic, which I mispronounced as Mordred for, I think, decades before I finally actually saw that it was Modred. There was some spec around this book when WandaVision was airing because it involved Chthon, the Darkhold, lots of the sorcerers of the Marvel Universe. He could still possibly be part of the future Doctor Strange MCU stuff that's going on. His story, like I said, involves the Darkhold, which has appeared in S.H.I.E.L.D. already. We saw it again in WandaVision. And we have a personal connection to this book because a 9.8 of this book sold for $2,700 this year. And the sale was from our man Steven from Minor Keys Comics. Crazy. I love you, Steven, but I'm going to call this one an outlier because I haven't seen anything else comparable to this. This is a lesson for all of you. Steven took advantage of the movie hype, the TV show hype, the media hype. He sold at the height of the market. You know, if this was Dogecoin, he sold 2 weeks ago.
No, it's you're right. It's taking an advantage of the waves of the market. You know, when strike when the iron's hot, you buy when things are out of spec, and you sell when they are hot.
And then I know my man probably took that money and invested it in some silver or bronze. So good on you, Stephen. But having said all that, again, another book you can find in back issue bins still that people just aren't hip to. They're not attuned to it yet. I got one a year ago that's like probably a 9.4, maybe better. I got it for $3 plus my 25% off discount.
Did you feel guilty?
I always feel a little twinge of guilt when I do stuff like that. But, you know, like we've had this conversation where if you own a shop and you're not on top of things, then you're not on top of things. Get on top of things.
And don't reprice your book and when the person brings it up to the counter.
Oh man, do not. If you bring up a browser and start looking on eBay while I'm at the register, I'm going to say, you know, I think I'm good. 9 times out of 10. What's your next one?
My next one is an interesting one. It's New Teen Titans number 23. It's the first appearance of Starfire's sister, Blackfire.
Oh, wow. That is cool.
Yeah, this is for the 1980 series. They rebooted this title like a million times. But this is Marv Wolfman at his best. And it's a great character. Blackfire is sort of the evil Starfire, if you want to have a summary of her. She has similar powers. But she's always comes up as a foil for Starfire. I think as long as Starfire is going to be a part of the Teen Titans, which is probably forever, we'll have reoccurrences of appearance of Blackfire.
Is that the cover where Starfire is kind of suspended in air and Blackfire is on the other side of her?
Yeah.
Okay. I know exactly what you're talking about. How cool.
Yeah. She's Blackfire's appeared in the Teen Titans animated show and Teen Titans Go. She is a reoccurring character, so I'm really surprised. This book really is still inexpensive. A 9.8, the 90 days are only $148. Last sale was $178, but I don't necessarily think there's any real movement behind this title. There's actually a 9.9. This is amazing for a 1982 book.
Wow.
There's a 9.9 on the census. There are 226 books on the census total. You can pick up Raws for this thing really cheap.
That's another one that's in the bins right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I saw Raws as low as $7 on eBay right now. But this is definitely, I come across runs of Teen Titans when I go looking through boxes. And because no one's really specking on the Titan books right now. But I think there's a lot of interest in the Titan characters. I just don't think we've hit the right property for them yet. And when we do, we're going to actually see some movement in these books.
I think people got excited over Titans, the DC Universe HBO Max series, and it wasn't quite what people wanted. They liked it, but again, like G.I. Joe earlier, this was an 80s kids book, man. We love New Teen Titans in the 80s. And if somebody at AT&T, Time Warner Brothers conglomerate can get their act together and do a real good New Teen Titans movie with that Wolfman Perez flavor and Blackfire's in it, you can see this book explode.
Yeah, all kinds of characters came out of those runs. You had Trigon came out of that run. There's Terra, all kinds of really important characters to
Deathstroke.
Yeah, Deathstroke, absolutely. To that whole mythos that are sitting there waiting to be mined in the right kind of property, and I think they're still looking for that magic touch.
People forget in the 80s, it was two books, Uncanny X-Men, New Teen Titans, and they kind of went hand in hand. And it was soap opera at its best. We couldn't wait to see, why is Donna Troy marrying that dude? Come on. Who, Danny Chase, get out of here. We don't want you. I mean, there were so many things that we were invested in that book. And boy, they've really just squandered it. It's a shame.
It's DC in general. I think they don't have the Kevin Feige, they don't have that kind of direction that Marvel has really benefited from. Because Marvel's had their missteps too, and it wasn't until the new MCU came out that we're actually seeing some solid direction from Marvel.
Did you hear that sonic boom right now? I believe it was Evan, our DC expert, shaking his fist at us so violently that it created a sonic boom.
Yeah, hi Evan.
Hi, Evan. Leave a comment. All right, our next, or my final one is a really obscure one that I don't think has really caught fire yet. It has the potential. Go grab it. Again, it's sitting in bins right now, your LCS, I guarantee it. And that is Marvel 2-in-1 number 54. Now, this was the beginning of the Project Pegasus storyline, a classic storyline by Mark Grunwald and Ralph Macchio. Not that Ralph Macchio. That featured a whole bunch of characters, including my man Quasar. But this is the first appearance of the Grapplers, which was a group of female super mercenaries that included none other than someone named Screaming Mimi, who had vocal powers, who becomes Songbird from the Thunderbolts. So there's a twofer with this book on spec. The Grapplers are heavily being speculated as being part of the new She-Hulk TV series that's coming up for Disney Plus, which would be very cool because perfect adversaries for She-Hulk. But if the Thunderbolts ever happens in the MCU and Songbird is a part of that, this is kind of her first appearance. So I just don't think people are really glomming onto this yet. And so there's a real opportunity here for this book.
I think all the members of the Thunderbolts are rife for speculation. I think people really aren't paying attention until it's too late. Until we see Baron Zemo freed from the raft, and we have the formation of the Thunderbolts with the Red Hulk and all the other characters that make up that team. That's not the time to go out and spec these books. Now is the time to go look at these books while they're still affordable.
That is the question. If they go that route, will it be Dark Avengers or will it be Thunderbolts? If it's Dark Avengers, it's going to be people that we kind of already know. You might not see Moonstone. You might not see Songbird. But Thunderbolts, just the right creative team at the right time, bring it back. It's kind of one of those books that just won't die. So
lots of new characters that I think could be monetized. You're talking about looking at new phases of the MCU. You don't want to continue to use, the first few phases have been, we're a decade into this whole process. Do you want to continue to recycle old characters, or do you want to bring out, fresh blood and get new interest in them? And I think the Thunderbolts are a great team.
Yeah, the MCU has shown us they're all about new blood with Ms. Marvel, Shang-Chi, all this stuff happening. So we'll have to see. All right. What are your favorite underrated Bronze Age first appearances? What do you have to contribute? Please do so in the comments, and then we'll read some of those comments on our viewer mail bonus episode that goes live later this week. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the notification bell. That way you will be fully informed when that episode goes live. And right now, I don't have one. Sorry, Richard. It's my lame butt transition for the 25-year rule. Gonna get
makes up for it, John.
I know. I'm gonna get slaughtered in the comments for not having a segment. Sorry, everybody. 25-year rule this week. We go back to 1996, 25 years ago, when nostalgia kicks in and we remember the Amalgam universe. Richard, you brought this one up.
Yeah, this is cool to me. You get a combination of Marvel and DC in a set of books. They're all one-offs, but they're all interesting stories about characters. They're a combination of certain characters from each of those publishers.
The original mashups, kind of like a Reese's cup. You got your Superman in my Captain America. Well, it's two great tastes that taste great together. And then so you get Super Soldier #1, where Clark Kent is exposed to alien DNA, which creates the Super Soldier. Great creative team on this one. Mark Waid and Dave Gibbons. Wow. Some heavy hitters. I love that he fights the Green Skull, who is a combination of the Red Skull and Lex Luthor with a little kryptonite thrown in for good measure. This is not a tough book. At 9.8 will run you $40. Raws are plentiful. Since you're digging in the back issue bins already from earlier this episode, head over to the Super Soldier section, probably under miscellaneous S, I would imagine, and pick up a copy. Great read. Some of the amalgam stuff is not great. This is great.
Yeah, you're right. Some of it falls a little short, but you never expect them all to be successful. But you got Batman and you got Wolverine, and you put them together, and you get Dark Claw.
Claw.
So some of those, just the concept of having those characters combined is just a cool idea, and it's interesting to see it come to fruition. Somebody actually went through the process and made a book that are those two characters together.
My favorite is Lobo the Duck, but we can talk about that on a future 25-year rule. Because right now it's time for our underrated books of the week. Richard, what do you have?
This week I picked, this is unusual for me, because normally underrated books are books that are in existence, they've been around, and somebody just has not paid attention to them. This book is a book that is out on June 30th of this year. It is Wonder Woman Black and Gold #1, the Warren Liu cover.
Breaking the rules, Richard. Breaking the rules.
Yeah, this isn't even released yet. It's on pre-order. So the reason I'm bringing it up now is so people have an opportunity before it sells out to pick up on a book that I think is going to be amazing. Now, it is a store exclusive. KRS, I believe, has the exclusive for this book, but it's a number of their partner sites are also releasing it. It is a store exclusive, and store exclusives have a spotty tracker record when it comes to spec. Some of them hit it out the park. Other ones just fall flat. But when you look at this cover. This cover is unbelievable.
I think you're right. I think the store exclusives really depend on the cover. You have some that have really stuck around, like Venom 26, that neon one, which I think was unknown. On your recommendation, I got that Miles Morales Spider-Man #23, the basketball Frankie's exclusive. I paid $35 for it. I sold it for $250. So yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, you have to know. I mean, like I said, the cover is spectacular, and I think it alone warrants the attention this book gets. Now, this book comes out and has two covers. This is DC now, so they don't necessarily have versions. They virgin covers. They have their normal trade dress, and then which is a 3,000 print run, and then they have a minimal trade dress, which is a 1,500 print run. So it's sold basically, the minimal trade dress is bundled with a trade dress copy, or you can get just the trade dress if you want. But it's so John's going to put up an image of the book.
Yeah.
The expression on Wonder Woman's face every single time just draws me in. There's something she's something in that look is saying she needs something, she wants something, and it is unbelievable. To me, this cover is in the league of Adam Hughes' masterpiece, which is Legion of Superheroes #23. David Nakayama, who is another great pinup cover, his Tarot #1 with the gorgeous Scarlet Witch on the cover. I love that book, and I missed out. That's another book that I missed out on. Ji-Hung Lee's Spider-Gwen #1. It's iconic cover. Everyone recognizes it, and it has been homaged a number of times. So it falls into that kind of category. It's still available on certain sites. Mutant Beaver out of Canada has a copy, or has some sets and slabs available. A set will run you around $60, and that gets you a trade and then the minimum trade version. The minimum trade alone is going for 99 on eBay right now.
Wow.
And it's easy to see why. It's if you have an opportunity to pick it up again, that's why I'm talking about it now, so that people still have a window of opportunity to pick this up. I really, really would. It's because I think, once the story comes out, once the book is in circulation, it is a limited print run. 1,500 is, while it's not tiny, it is definitely limited. It's going to see some aftermarket movement. I just can't see how it can't. Just looking at this cover, if I was to come across this 5 years from now, I would be mesmerized and would pay good money to get a copy for myself.
Just to be clear, we're getting no affiliate commission from this. We're not sponsored in any way by anyone. So this is just pure advice for the young at heart, as Tears for Fears would
Yeah,
say.
it's from one collector to another. Buy buy this book before it becomes the next Legion of Superheroes number 23.
Good one. Mine goes back to Epic Illustrated, which you talked about earlier with Dreadstar. While you're digging in the magazine bins looking for Epic number 3, why not take a look for Epic Illustrated number 26, which is part 1 of John Byrne's legendary The Last Galactus story. This was just what it says on the tin, The Last Galactus story. And Byrne did this in 9 parts. It was a whole story with a beginning, middle, and end. However, the conclusion never saw print because Epic was canceled with issue number 36. And Byrne, while he's quick and works ahead, did not work ahead that fast in order to have the conclusion drawn so it could be printed somewhere else. So it's just kind of left out there in the ether ever since then. There was talk of IDW doing an artist's edition of The Last Galactus story, those huge art books, and they were going to commission a new concluding chapter by John Byrne, and he kind of confirmed that. But then something fell apart. Call me crazy, but maybe John Byrne was difficult to work with. I've heard rumors of such in the past. Things. It sounds weird that John Byrne may have an issue with someone. 9.8 of Epic Illustrated number 26 sold in March for $300, but there's not a lot of data on this. There's a incredibly low census count for this book. Only 2 9.8s and 5 9.6s. So this is one you can probably jump on, and it's a classic. It's beautiful. Yeah, Epic Illustrated kind of had highs and lows. This is one of the highs.
Oh, John Byrne is one of my favorite artists. Sometimes you have to separate the man from the art. And he and Claremont, I think, were the magic team for my childhood. So I'm interested in reading this. I was unaware of this particular story. Obviously, it wasn't the Last Galactus story.
No. Well, it takes place in the future, in the far future.
Mhm.
Frankie Ray Nova is still his herald. You'll love this. It's inked by Terry Austin, so it doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah, that's
Classic. So, and it's Byrne in his 1986 prime, when he's working on Fantastic Four, and he's really entrenched in that. So it's really a shame. This legendary tale is never going to be finished, apparently. But never say never.
Yeah, you never know.
You never know. But I know this much. You guys can't complain about my camera resolution anymore because it's the first episode on my new computer and I look great.
You do look great, John.
I don't know. It depends. Now you can see every flaw. I need some heavy, I need the Barbara Streisand filter. I think that's what I need. But we want to thank everybody for joining us this week. Richard, where can they find us?
They can find us at Bronze and Modern Gods on Facebook and Instagram, and at www.bronzeandmoderngods.com, the website.
You can even type in http:// if you like before then.
With the inner tubes and all, yeah.
Like my mom telling me how to get to a website. Well, you type in http. Make sure you like this video, subscribe. We love you guys. The channel's kind of blown up the last month or so. Don't think we haven't noticed. Don't think we don't appreciate it. Don't think we don't read every single comment. And again, to the guy, the one soul out there that keeps giving us a thumbs down, who has returned after a couple of months off, we love you too.
You're special.
We'll see you next time.
Everybody stay